We are in pumpkin spice season, and I'm going to be sharing with you some of my favorite fall fragrances. We have a good mix between affordable and niche options. So if you're interested in smelling absolutely amazing, keep on watching. But before we get into it, let me introduce myself. My name is Anya, and I publish fragrance videos on this channel every single Wednesday. I do also have an Instagram and a TikTok. However, I haven't been publishing on those social media platforms as much, but if you aren't already following me there, I highly recommend it since I still do have a ton of content on those pages as well for you to watch. So, by the way, you might notice I have a little bit of a different background. I mean, it's a different background. I moved. That's why I haven't really been active on social media that much. I did pre-film a lot of content for YouTube, so that's what you were seeing go out. I am now living in DC proper, which basically means I'm living in the District of Columbia. Before I was living in Maryland, and that's kind of like known as the DMV area. The District, Maryland, and Virginia sometimes are lumped into like the DMV, so sometimes people say, hey, I live in DC, but I live in DC proper now. It's super exciting. I love my surroundings. It's amazing. Life has been crazy, and if I seem a little bit stiff, it's just because I haven't filmed content in a really long time and I'm still not set up yet. So I'm going to segue into these fragrances, starting off with a very new fragrance in my collection. This is Navatu's Venom of Love by Polina Shar. This is the very first fragrance she did with Navatus. You might be familiar with Kind Intentions. I've spoken about that fragrance on this channel before, but this is Venom of Love. So they recently did a price increase, Navatus, just to cover inflation and the fact that they've revamped their bottle design and made it more high quality. So right before they did a price increase, I got an email and I decided to make a purchase, and I chose this fragrance because I've kind of been obsessed with it ever since I got it as a decant, and I'm very excited to have this in my collection. I'll give you I'll give you the notes. And by the way, yeah, I'm not going to be like giving you like exact notes for a lot of these fragrances, but I do have the notes here available. So it has top notes of bitter almond, cherry brandy, heart notes of chocolate cherry, Turkish rose absolute, and Egyptian jasmine absolute, and then base notes of almond cream, vanilla, and amberwood. Master perfumer is Sidonie Lancaster. I'm sorry I'm butchering that pronunciation. But to summarize, this is a really good fragrance to wear for fall. It's very cherry forward, but it's a very dark and intense cherry. So if you want something light, this is not for you. I sprayed this in a car with my cousin, and I almost choked her because that's how intense this was. For me, that's fine, but for other people, not so much. So if you are not someone who likes a lot of intensity, this might not be a blind buy safe fragrance. Definitely get a decant. Navitu's also does discovery sets. So it's a very intense fragrance. It opens up with a very like kind of like alcoholic almost scent. I believe that's like the brandy. Yeah, the cherry brandy. I believe it's like it comes. I mean, that's what I'm smelling. But then it softens into something that's like more fruity. And honestly, I really love it. This will definitely be like it will feature very heavy in my rotation as we get more into the fall time. For now, I've been wearing it sparingly because it is a very intense fragrance, but so far, I've really been enjoying it. And yeah, if you haven't tried this and you love cherry, definitely go for it. I'm very picky with my cherry fragrances because cherry has been a note that's been regurgitated over and over and over, it seems. But this is a classic. I really love it. I love how it has that boozy element to it. It's very unique in my collection because I don't have a lot of cherry brandy scents, and it smells absolutely dark and seductive and beautiful, and I love it. Next up, we have Casimir by Chopard, my ultimate cozy perfume that I absolutely love. This is an older fragrance. I forget what year it was launched, but this definitely has some elements that lean more vintage. So when I say this perfume has notes of mango and coconut, and it reminds me of an apricot tart, people love to come at me and say, hey, it doesn't smell like that. Well, I will tell you, Just because it has those notes in there does not mean that those notes are executed in a way that we recognize when it comes to modern gourmand perfumes. This has a little bit of a vintage element to it. In fact, it smells very vintage, and it has those, I believe, like notes of, and it has white florals. So this is like a fruity floral, but if you're looking for straight up gourmand, this is not it. It's more complex, and it's definitely for someone who appreciates a more vintage smelling perfume. But I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I love this fragrance. And it's also pretty affordable right now. You can get it on my storefront for Amazon for about like $20 if you go for the smaller size. It's beautiful, and I just associate this with being a very comforting and warming fragrance that uplifts my mood and makes me feel cozy whenever I need something that's a little bit more comforting. So that's what this fragrance is to me, and it is, in my opinion, a beautiful, cozy fall fragrance. But you can also wear this throughout the entire year. Next up is Al Haramain's Amber Oud Gold Edition. This is a very intense and fruity fragrance. It smells almost tropical. It's hyper gourmand. If you want to know what this smells like, consider Xerjoff's Herba Pura, but without the citruses. That's what this smells like to me. It has that signature fruit cocktail scent. It's very heavy on the fruits, and I believe there's also some melon in here as well. The reason why it looks like I haven't used this as much is because this is, in many ways, a very polarizing scent because of how intense it is. It smells very good, but 2 sprays is all I'd recommend, because if you do more than that, people will be able to smell you from across the room. And in my experience, some people have reacted negatively towards me wearing this, because this is probably one of the most, if not the most strong perfume in my collection. It is very intense and used with caution, but it's a very beautiful, intense, fruity fragrance. And because it's a heavier scent, in my opinion, that makes it ideal for the colder weathers. So yes, Al Haramain's Amber Oud Gold Edition. Mine, to be completely honest with you, is a little bit finicky in terms of the bottle. The cap's broken, and I haven't had a chance to glue it yet, but what can you do? This is my bottle, and I think I got a tester, so I don't know. I think that might have something to do with it. But yeah, a very intense fruity fragrance. I remember I was so excited when I first got it, and then I like sprayed it like 5 times, and I went to work. Back then I worked retail, and people had opinions, so use with caution. Moving my perfumes provided me with a fantastic opportunity to reintroduce myself to fragrances I hadn't touched in a really long time. This is an example, Roberto Cavalli's perfume. They have several in the line, but I believe this is the original one, and this to me is a very floral interpretation of the vanilla note. You have tonka, vanilla, and ambery base, but what you do smell right at first would be the pink pepper, and this also has, I believe, orange blossom. So it's a floral vanilla fragrance. It's a very cozy perfume, just a really wonderful orange blossom fragrance if you also happen to adore vanilla. And I think the bottle is kind of lots of fun as well. It has like that signature cap that's present in a lot of the Roberto Cavalli fragrances, and it kind of has like a zebra thing. It just looks very unique and quite beautiful, and it's a really affordable fragrance as well. So when I was first getting into perfumes, this was one of the first fragrances I actually purchased because of how affordable it was, and it looks absolutely beautiful as well. So I definitely should be wearing this more. It just smells very cozy, like a cozy vanilla with a bit of orange blossom. Who doesn't like orange blossom? Actually, I'm pretty sure I can find a few people who don't like orange blossom, but I personally really adore it. Next up is Jessica Simpson's Fancy. You might recognize this as one of the OG celebrity fragrances, and honestly, this smells really good. It's an apricot perfume, and I believe it has like some other white florals such as gardenia, and it just smells really fun and cozy and quite lovely. Yeah, it's a fruity floral, but it's focused on the apricot, and it's just very cozy. Does it smell very complex? No, but if you happen to really like your white florals and you also like a hint of apricot, this is one to try. I especially have loved using this, where when I first got this, I would use it as an additive to my body moisturizer. So I would just like pump out some moisturizer, spray the moisturizer with this fragrance, and just lather it all over me. I feel like this is the perfect perfume to do that with because it just smells so cozy and inviting and just comforting. So Jessica Simpson's Fancy, again, it's a classic. Um, I feel like this would be a beautiful like body butter additive for the fall. I know that's like that doesn't I know that sounds a little bit weird, but this is good because it has like that cozy gourmand element, but it's also simple enough so you can layer other fragrances on top of this and not have them competing for each other. So sometimes it's nice to have those fragrances in your collection, and this is really good. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's a really pretty fragrance. So, yes, Jessica Simpson's Fancy. People love this one. It's a classic. I do love that apricot though. That smells really good. Can you tell I haven't filmed in like ages and ages and ages? Um, yeah. So this next one is Nirvana. Nirvana Rose. I'm like looking at it as if I don't know what it is. Elizabeth and James Nirvana Rose, another celebrity fragrance line. Whew, this is good. This is really good. So, okay, this is a fragrance that is incredibly unique, and I am not shy about telling you, hey, this fragrance is affordable, but it doesn't smell complex, or this fragrance is affordable and it smells niche. This is the latter. It's really affordable, around $20, I believe, for this size, and it smells it smells very complex. Like it's I don't know. See, the thing is, I struggle. I don't know if it smells complex per se. I mean, it's not like they have like 50 notes in the scent pyramid. It's actually very simple in the fact that it has geranium, rose, and vetiver, but it's an aromatic rose, and there's just the way it's done. It's brilliant, honestly. This smells like your aromatic rose, and I will say this: it smells niche. It smells kind of like Rose de Arabi. I cannot pronounce that for the life of me, but that's a Giorgio Armani Privé fragrance. And yes, fine, I'm comparing it to like a Privé designer line, whatever. But it was actually just in the Giorgio Armani store today, so that's what I'm thinking about. But yeah, this smells very, very luxe and beautiful. And if you're looking for kind of like a dark, seductive rose, like a bit of an aromatic rose for the fall time, this is ideal. And I love wearing this when it gets a little bit like chilly out, when it's a cloudy day, because in that environment, this fragrance radiates off of you. This is gorgeous. Definitely try it out if you haven't already. And if you love your like unusual fragrances, this is good. This is really, really good. I'm going to do an honorable mention for some more Nirvana fragrances just to give you an idea of what they smell like. First up is French Grey. This has notes of neroli, lavender, and musk. And the way this fragrance has been constructed is very interesting because I think a lot of us, when we think of the lavender note, we think of something like Libre by Yves Saint Laurent, but this is far from it. This is actually a very light interpretation of lavender, and truly, I smell mostly. I smell mostly the musk here, with a bit of the neroli and some lavender in the background. It's just a very unique fragrance, kind of like a clean laundry smell, but more complex than that. And smelling this now, I feel like this would be a fragrance I would want to include in my rotation now. I actually haven't reached for it in a really long time, but I truly should. It's beautiful, and I don't know if I haven't mentioned this before, but one of the downsides of the Nirvana line is the cap comes off rather easily, so that's just something to note. But the fragrances themselves are so unusual that I don't really care. Um, and I won't always say that. Sometimes, I mean, you probably may remember me complaining about the packaging on some of the fragrances I've decluttered. But if the fragrance itself smells very unique, I'm willing to I'm willing to bite the bullet when it comes to that. So then I have Nirvana Amethyst. Nirvana Amethyst is a tobacco fragrance. This has notes of, I believe, amber, tobacco, and no, sorry, honeysuckle, tobacco, and cedar. And tobacco is kind of like a hit or miss note for me. This fragrance is nice. Would I buy it again? No. And when I say it smells like when I say there's honeysuckle in here, I definitely don't really smell that much. To me, I smell like a honeysuckle. Wait, sorry. To me, I smell tobacco and cedar. If I had to rank the fragrances, I would say Nirvana Rose, my ultimate favorite. Then I have French Grey, which I think is a very unusual fragrance I need to get more use out of. And then I have Nirvana Amethyst. So if you like your tobacco scents, this may be one to try. However, it's not my favorite. Alright, that's it for this video. Those are all the fragrances I wanted to share today. This was a hodgepodge between some old favorites and new discoveries, at least new to me in my collection. I am anticipating doing a lot more fall-related fragrance content. However, everything's in a box right now, so I still have to get things organized before I can actually give you some more content. So with that being said, before I can actually make those kinds of videos, I would like to do a video completely focused on chocolate fragrances. But in order to do that, I have to get some of my decants organized and actually prepare a little bit more for a video like that. And I think I also want to do, I mean, I also have some fragrances I want to purchase as well. So we'll see. Right now everything's chaotic, but thank you so much for watching till the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye.